Mm. Hi, and welcome to the CalmWaves Podcast. I am Dallas Cowan, and I'm joined today with my dad, Dr. Douglas, sometimes known by Dr. Doug, known by Doc Cowan. We are here talking about, typically we talk about brain health and brain technologies and things that really help to optimize and work on the brain to make it work better and faster and stronger. And, that's kind of our thing that we do around here. But over the last week, there's been some things that have happened in the world. So trying to make this podcast not just about current events that are happening, but just I think it's a good topic for just you as an audience, but just us to discuss is how do you deal with grief? I know it's something that is this last week I had a conversation with a coach from New Zealand who is a rugby coach, and he was dealing with grief in his own world where a player that was close to him unfortunately committed suicide because of some of the CTE symptoms he was experiencing. And so he was going through kind of a grieving process. He said that things were very raw there in New Zealand. That's how he described it. And then here as a nation, we had the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So it was a lot of people online reacting to that. We also had the anniversary of September 11th was also this week. So when you talk about hard things that have happened, there was a lot happened in the week. I felt just being around it a lot. So I wanted to talk with Dr. Cowan, my dad too, is about grief and how to hard things that happen that are outside in looking at the world. I know you have, your clients that you work with, and this might be a topic that comes up a lot where they're coming for you because they've had some hard things that have happened in their life, some grief that has happened, and they're trying to process it or they're trying to get through it. So I just wanted to kind of open up to you as you kind of these events have happened this week that, what's your thought process on that? How do you help somebody that's dealing with, something that's close that's happened to them? And then we can kind of probably talk about things that are like we see in the world that have happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks, Dal. Yeah, there are a lot of different categories, a lot of different ways that people approach loss. There's some level of grief that comes just from disappointment, some level of grief that comes from true loss. So a widow whose husband of, 50 years has died experiences a great deal of loss in that. And then there are things that happen, certainly anybody under the age of 30 read about 9/11, didn't walk through it, didn't live through it. So it's more peripheral sense of grief or loss or whatever. It's not as severe as somebody who had a spouse, a neighbor who died in 9/11. So there's different severity of it. And I think we right now, we as a nation, people in America and maybe across the world, we need to have a pretty clear idea of how deep this wound of Charlie Kirk's assassination really is or isn't. Do we feel bad for the family, or was it a personal loss, like I'm going to skip the next 15 meals because I can't eat because it's so terrible? We want to certainly feel bad for his family, and I don't care who it is. Nobody should get murdered, and nobody should get murdered in front of 1,000 cell phones. And it's a terrible thing. But grief, man, I'll tell you, I've buried, when I was working as full-time as a pastor, I buried 30 people or something, and people go through grief. People who died from cancer and took a long time to die. The families had a chance to sort of reorganize prior to their death and prepare for that. And so the grieving starts 6 months ahead of them. And then, like when our friend Judson got killed in a plane crash, backseat of a F-16, I think. It was a sudden thing where somebody just shows up at his wife's door in military uniforms to give them the news, and he goes to work and doesn't come home. That kind of sudden death is a whole another category. This thing with Mr. Kirk was something nobody expected, and we all saw, couldn't believe it, the sudden death thing. So that's part of the range of this, and I think we just need to accept that there's a whole range of it. For some people, it causes deep anxiety. Other people, depression. Yeah. So one of the things that has surprised me when I was a pastor was how many really stupid things people could say to the grieving widow or the grieving mother whose child had died. I mean, it's remarkable. It's like it's endless what people can come up with to say to try to comfort somebody that's actually pretty callous, pretty stupid. So how do we respond to that?
What would you say is the best type of response to somebody who's grieving? Let's start there. If you know somebody who has had a major loss, or what's the best approach somebody can take?
I am really sorry. Is there anything I can do at all to help? And then sit down and just be with the grieving person for the next hour. Have something to drink, some hot tea, and just sit. Maybe ask them a question. How are you doing? If it's a week later, what was your favorite memory? But things like, you're young, you'll get remarried, you can have more kids. Those kinds of things, people actually say that. I mean, they actually do. They actually say that. Like, oh my God.
What not to say?
Yeah. In fact, Norman Wright is an author who's written like 30 books and a Christian counselor guy, and wrote a lot of books on counseling for trauma and grief, crisis counseling. Smart guy. And Norm wrote a book on what not to say after somebody died. And he said that was the most popular book he had written.
And I think people are trying to, I don't think people are trying to say something mean. I think someone walks in the room and they're trying to fix it. They're trying to be like, how do I be the most helpful that I can? And they're just saying, like, you guys said, they're trying to be like, well, let's rationalize this. You're young, you can remarry. But you have more kids. Like, what are you doing? So I think it's, as you just said, and anyone's listening, like, here's the plan. Don't say, this is what you say, so that you don't say anything more.
Yeah. So I think first you realize that moment, that first week, even that first month, this is a special time in a person's life. That if somebody has that, significant loss, even losing a job, that for that first day or week or month, it's an unusual time. I would say special, not in the sense of yay, special, but special in the sense that you don't practice for it. You may have never gone through it before. You may never go through it again. It's a unique, singular kind of time. And so we need to, if we're outside of that, we need to approach that person going through this grief, that the normal rules of conversation, banter, joking, whatever, they do not apply right now. This is something, how do we just help this person right now?
And I think going back to the presence type of thing, we're just be in the room. I think in my moments that I've been very sad, I think that's just the biggest thing. Just to know somebody's around and know somebody showed up. Somebody, that was it. It didn't need to be anything taking them to lunch, sit with them. How you doing? Okay. But don't try to fix.
Yeah, ministry of presence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, um, when this friend Judson died, that, the family was just shut down and people came from all around. And this one lady was just in the kitchen the whole time. She was doing everything from cleaning the kitchen to making tea to bringing out little things to eat, although the family probably didn't eat for 3 days, but constantly coming out with the glasses of water, the whatever, just serving people, never trying to say anything, never trying to interject their opinion, just serving people and allowing others to sit with the widow, to sit with the kids, whatever. Everybody, well, under stress, everybody does what they practice the most. I think the thing that stands out in my mind, the one thing, a couple had been married, a couple in their, I don't know, maybe 70s, been married for 50 years. I get a call, hey, so-and-so just passed away. Could you go over and stay with his widow, his wife, until family gets there? Sure, be right there. So 10 minutes later, I'm rolling up to the front door and offering condolences. She brings me in the house. The husband has just died, just an hour before or 2 hours before. Brings me into the kitchen, sits me down at the kitchen table, and asks if I'd like some coffee and a slice of pie. And that just reinforced my belief that under stress, we do the things we have practiced the most. And she had practiced hospitality the most. So when she couldn't think and she didn't know what to do, she just did the thing she practiced the most, which was being hospitable and kind. So yeah, that's what we want to do, is we want to practice doing good things. We want to allow people to express their emotions. Some people are going to be really agitated and really loud and really angry and really on that side of the spectrum of emotions, very verbal, and to allow people to have their full range of emotions. And other people are going to be just sad and anguish. That's the word I'm looking for. Just express anguish and tears, and we need to allow people to have that as an emotion in their life. All the while staying nearby. All the while being close enough that you're the one that they're talking to. They're not really talking to you. You're just the one in the room. Staying connected with them, being available to them, being present with them until they close the door in your face, which I've had happen too, without words. Just boom. Okay, I guess I can do something else now. Yeah, it's people's worlds get really small when they suffer through loss, grief, that kind of pain.
So we talked about doing, helping somebody who's going through pain. What do we do? What's kind of the plan? What do we do with, something that I want to start with something that happens close to us, something unexpected happens, what's the best way to, I know we're going to, again, practice what we've done the most type of mentality in those type of situations, but what's the okay feelings, I guess, when you have something like, hey, this was hard, like losing a job. Talk about, what are we going to do in those times of when there's really bad loss, but, losing a job, having something like that happening. What's a good way to process those types of sadness / grief kind of emotions? How have you helped your clients, I guess? Someone comes in, here's what's happened. Because I think people here are going to want to know, like, okay, what do I do? I'm feeling this way.
Yeah.
What do I do?
All right. Let me show you this picture I had for a client yesterday. All right. There's our brain picture.
There we go.
Right. Yeah. So here's the brain stem here. This is the limbic system in the middle here. And here's the frontal lobes up here. So when we have something that we have to figure out, have some problem to solve in life, we want to figure it out here in the frontal lobes. That's why it has the number 1. That's the first place, is we want to rationally figure it out. We want to solve the problem. And so some people are able to take a job loss, for example, and just say, okay, I'm going to make 5 phone calls before 6 o'clock tonight, and I'll have a new job by tomorrow. And they keep it up here in the rational part of the brain, creative part of the brain, figuring it out part of the brain. If that doesn't work, then it goes to the middle part of the brain, which is the survival part of the brain. And it's the emotional part of the brain. And its job is to keep you alive. So if once things get back here, it now is dealing with this through pure emotion, anxiety, anger, depression, grief, fear. That's all kicking in. And the fight or flight thing turns on, and all of the things that you're doing are based on, I've got to survive this. And then the decisions aren't necessarily the smartest. That's up here. They are the survival ones back here with a lot of emotion attached to it. And if that doesn't work, then it goes back here to the brainstem, number 3, which is the freeze part. So fight or flight, freeze back here. And that's where you curl up in the corner and just wait, for the dinosaur or time to eat you, one of those. And that's where everybody goes snap out of it and then try to get back up to here. So how do we keep it up here? That's going to be things like, it's not going to be easy. That's things like exercise, get out and go walk 4 miles, go do 100 push-ups and get back to me. Being active really helps to work through that a lot. Getting together with other people, get together with a group of people, let them bring you back to problem solving.
But when you want to be in that problem solving world, but when you're also going through something like that, it's okay to feel those emotions too. Because you don't want to just be like feeling anything.
Right. When we're talking about like the loss of a job, you want to feel that. Give yourself some time to feel that. But if you want to get another job,
got it. Yep. Still make your action over something. Yeah.
Yeah, a whole nother question there. So grief, like somebody's death, man, if your spouse dies, if you have a child that dies, absolutely horrible. It is, give yourself a year before you even make a significant decision. Just take some time. You're going to be living in that midbrain a lot. Going to make a lot of mistakes, get a lot of good input from wise people in the choices that you make. Your brain's just going to be jammed up. And that's okay. That's all right. Also, in 6 months, if a spouse dies, if a child dies in 6 months and at 18 months, put it on your calendar to go get a physical exam from your doctor. Because when we go through that kind of grief, our bodies release a lot of stored toxins, things that are just floating around in your cells now, stored in your fat cells. Those toxins get released, and they can start to cause diseases in our body 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. I don't know why they say 6-month cycle, but I guess it's just an experience kind of thing from medical people. But drink lots of water every day and go see your doctor in 6 months, go see your doctor in a year, go see your doctor in 18 months. So the body will change. Yeah, it's just we all go through it. Either our spouse is going to die before us or we're going to die before them. This is not something that you can ever practice for, can't really prepare for. It is a human experience, and we just want to support each other when somebody's going through it. Please, if you have a friend or a family member who has lost a loved one, don't think that, well, that was 3 months ago. What are you doing now? The more you love somebody, the longer it takes to grieve. That's just how it is. So allow people time to grieve, time to recover, if you ever recover, time to regroup. at least.
No, it's really good. I think that's you go to, I think the brain side of it's really great. To being brought in is to say, try to stay in that frontal part of the brain, but sadness and grief and all those things will pull you back into the middle part or then the freeze part, and then you're trying to get back to this front part of the brain again. So let's go. So we went from, really bad, horrible grief to, hey, loss of a job. Hey, this is not great, but, trying to stay in that, do walks, do active things, try to, kind of work through those types of things. What about with something, September 11th, I guess, reading about, death in the nation from someone like Charlie Kirk? How do you process that? I mean, how would you, I think what's a healthy way to do that? So what's a healthy way to see stuff that's going on in the world? I mean, I think of also like with what happened in Israel, just these things that are happening in the world. How do you, one is, this is one of the only times and places ever in history, not is the most where news happens so fast. We're the front steps of so many different tragic things because you just flip on the news and that's what they're showing. I was getting my tires changed and the news was playing, and it was just this story, this awful story over and over and over again. And I'm just sitting there like, that's all they talked about was this thing for the next 2 hours and it was just the same information. It wasn't any new information. It was just new stories. And like, no, this is just keep going on. So if someone feels stuck with that, if someone feels like, hey, what's a good reaction to this? You don't want to be callous and be like, oh, that just happens in the world versus, the other side, which is, kind of like, I'm going all in. This is affecting me so much. What's a good, healthy kind of balance?
I think the answer depends upon how much we value human life and we believe in the dignity of every human. We don't really value human life. We either don't care or our emotions are like we're gleeful that somebody just got murdered. If we value human life, if we see dignity in every single person, rich or poor, young or old, whether we agree with them or not, but we see the image of God stamped on them, if we see dignity in every person, we should feel terrible if somebody gets murdered, whether it's a girl on a subway or whether it's a man on a podium with 2,000 people listening to him. That we should be. And part of this right now, I guess, is a time where we kind of need to take an inventory personally. Just how do we view other humans on this planet, and how much do we respect the dignity of every human life, or not, or just not? The only person I care about is I throw a hula hoop on the floor, and the only person I care about is the person with their feet inside that hula hoop, me. All right, just say it out loud. But I hope that this is the kind of time where we all take an inventory and just say, whoa, every life is valuable. Every person's valuable. And treat each other with dignity and respect and speak life to each other, encourage each other, and want the best for each other. I hope it brings us to that, or at least some significant percentage of our population pushes us back into that. We got to remember who we are. So we're humans. We're created in the image of God, loved by God. And so is that guy across the street, those people over there that they have dignity and value, and we want to treat each other with dignity and value.
Yeah, I think you bring such a good point about everyone's created in God's image. I think that's a good anchor point for everybody, and to have some sort of, you want some sort of reaction. It should be hard to watch. It shouldn't be easy or gleeful to watch, all of those types of things, going through this process. And you want to seek justice too. That's the other part about it. As you're watching something like this, is we're wired for in a certain way. And if you want to go back to emotions or how we're, there's lots and lots of different arguments about, that's what's forward. Our evolutionary biology is wired in this way, or if it's like, no, our God has created, there's a creator that has created us in this manner. And we do want to seek justice for if we see an image bearer that is not, has been hurt or has been murdered, to say, hey, no, I want justice as well for something like this that has happened. So I know there can be anger that has come up too. I think some people they've felt this way of not only sadness and grief, but anger through something like this, through, kind of this last week. It's what's a good way to process those types of things?
There it is.
There you go.
Take it out of here, put it back up here.
But keep it in the front part of the brain. Keep it in the front part of the brain. When you think of when you talk about the front part of the brain, can your front part of the brain still handle those emotions? It's not like numb. It's not a non-emotional.
You and me, we spent with some other good friends, we spent 2 years going through the book of Proverbs, seeking wisdom, ageless, timeless wisdom. If we ask ourselves, all right, in this crisis time, is it a crisis? Ask ourselves. It is certainly for one family, several families, I suppose. But how does it impact us? And what's the wisest thing that I can do now? What does wisdom require of me? What does me valuing human life require of me now, today? What is the very best attitude I can have today toward other people? Those are things that bring me back into the front part of the brain. What's wisdom require? How do I treat other people today?
Yeah, that was kind of one of my thought processes when I think it was Wednesday or yesterday, trying to process the stuff with, the Charlie Kirk stuff. Sad for the family, sad for, what was going on there. But my thought was how do I be a little bit nicer today? How do I be a little more kind today? Because I don't know what other people are going through. I don't know what their reactions are. Person cuts me off on the road. There's a lot going on in the world today. How do I process it that way? How do I extend a little bit more kindness? I'll try to be as nice as I can all the time, but just be more aware of that. Be more aware of people's emotions through this process, because I don't know where they were in the relationship or how they're handling these types of things.
Yeah, I would just say, if we can just, like you just said, if we can do this with wisdom, if you see people having a prayer vigil on the street and you don't agree with them, just ride past them on your bike. If you see people being stupid on the street and celebrating someone's murder, what does wisdom require? Do you have to get into a fist fight with them? You can certainly get into a conversation with them. I mean, think about Charlie Kirk. He got into 300,000 conversations with people. So how do you treat even people that you don't agree with dignity? How do we do that? Even if they're acting stupid. I'm not saying acting criminal, but I'm saying acting stupid. What do we, you think they're stupid. How do you treat them? You can try to teach them, or you can walk away. And we have to figure out how to be wise and be kind to other people, even people we strongly disagree with.
I love the proverb. They're back to back, and I think it's a deeper one, and I think it's a good proverb for this time. Is answer a fool according to his folly, and you will walk away a fool, pull it up. But if it's don't answer a fool according to his folly, and he will think of himself wise. And so they're back to back, and it's not about what you're doing. It's about that they're a fool. Either way, if you answer them, it's not going to be a good thing. And if you don't answer them, it's not going to be a good thing. It's a really hard situation, but if they're not willing to receive it, so it's the whole thing of if someone is being stupid, you walk up to them, it's maybe not going to go well. And if you feel like if you walk away, they're going to think that they won. So it's
That's pretty hollow victory, don't
Yeah,
you think?
it's pretty hollow. Yeah, exactly. But it's the how to find it.
If somebody's in their 20s and they don't value human life, they don't see the dignity of all people. You walking up to them and confronting them in a 5-minute conversation are not going to change it. They're just going to need to grow up and see the value in human life or not. And I think, there's some percentage of people on this planet who will never see the value in another person's life. They just won't ever. I don't know. You have to figure out how to build a great culture and society, even though there's some percentage that just doesn't care about other people.
Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or yourself will be just like him. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. So
That's a riddle.
It's a riddle. It's both of those things. Well, I think this was a good, I think when we was thinking of what to talk about, especially based off of this week, I think this was a topic that, even I was kind of working through as well of, how do I feel? How do I do it? What can I do? All of those types of things are just, I think, so important to just people and understanding how to live life. And I think you brought in of, trying to be in the rational part of your brain as much as you can, but also there are different stages of grief too, from, having a immediate loss of a spouse or a child. What do you do with that versus also how do you help respond to somebody who's going through grief? I think that's such an important skill to have that not many people have and don't do it well. Don't get a lot of feedback from it. It's usually just those people being like, so I think that's a really good thing for people to kind of walk away from, this podcast. So,
Well, I think for all of us, anybody listening, just go hug the people that you love because life is fragile. Life is fragile.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Life is fragile. Well, good. Well, I think it's not with the life is fragile, I think it's living life to the fullest, but, really serving others too. I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, if you want to look at anything from what Charlie Kirk did, agree with him or not, there's things I didn't quite agree with him on, but, what he did was he sought truth and he did it in a way where it was peaceful and, have your ideas be better than mine. You have a better idea. Let's go. Let's talk about it. And I think when we're pursuing our work, at least my work of working with people that have had injuries or anxiety or depression or all these different things, it's like, all right, if we've got a better idea, let's do it. But I think this is a really good idea this way, and it might help you. So, that's what we're pursuing as well, is trying to pursue truths to help people.
Yeah. What's the best path forward? What does wisdom call us to do? What does love for other people or respect for other people call us to do right now? Well, let's walk down that path, see where it goes.
Yeah. It's great. Well, thank you. Thank you for everyone who's listening. And until next time.
Yeah, thanks, Dal.
Great day. Okay.